Welcome to the first of Matt Parker's Maths Solutions. I'm Matt Parker, and the maths solution this week is for the people at the table problem. So I said this previously, where you've got investors and they sit randomly at a table, and then you've got to spin the table to try and get as many of the investing information packs in front of the correct investors, and you want to get at least 2 of them correct. And the problem was, if you had 7 investors, it was possible for them to sit around the table such that you could never rotate it, so 2 of them would match. Thank you so much, everyone who had a go at that puzzle. We have had literally thousands of submissions on the Think Maths website. There's the URL, you can go and check it out. All the new puzzles and everything will be on that page with links to the detailed pages for each of the puzzles and how you can submit your solutions. And thank you so much, everyone who sent in solutions. I'll explain more about the leaderboard and points and how all of that works at the end of the video. But first, I want to get down to the actual solution. So what I've done here is fired up I've got a whole bunch of the different solutions and bits of maths that people sent in to me. So we'll start with the first one, so you can see what I'm seeing there next to me. So this was the most popular solution. This is the most common one that people sent in. A lot of people realized if you have the investors sitting in the opposite direction around the table, then you can never have more than one of them matching at once. That is the worst case scenario, or rather, that is one of the worst case scenarios. So you can see here, we've got the investors are going around the table in a clockwise direction, but their places are going in a counter or anti-clockwise direction. And this GIF was sent in by Jonas. Thank you very much for sending that in. I'll set that animating. So it shows, look at that. It shows the table spinning and each time the one that matches. So thank you so much, Jonas, specifically for sending in the animation to go with your solution. And well done, everyone who sent in a correct solution, this one or otherwise. We'll get to the others in a moment. So some people worked it out by doing animations. Other people got some cards out and did it themselves. Thank you everyone who sent in photos of them doing that. I didn't get permission to show any of those photos. So from now on, if you do send me in a photo of you working on it, just let me know if I'm allowed to then share that in the video afterwards. I didn't check, but I tried to reply to everyone who sent me in a photo of them working on it, and people tweeted me photos, and well done, everyone who gave it a go. I'm very, very impressed. So a lot of people just did it manually. Some people realized, including Jack, that you could use our submission form on the Think Maths website to work out the patterns for where you want to arrange people. So Jack sent this in and they gave us an explanation. They worked out if you get like one negative diagonal, you can't have more than one person on that diagonal. Otherwise, they would be the same separation from their original pack when they started. So great. I just wanted to say well done, Jack, for using our own submission form to help you solve the puzzle. That's very clever. Other people did spreadsheets. So I thought I'd just put this in here because Chill made a spreadsheet to work it out. They sent us in a copy of it. And actually when this came in, Zoe, who was helping me with all the emails, saw this and was like, this is amazing, because Chill has used a lookup table of emojis to indicate how many are correct or not. And I was like, oh man, that's a lookup table for emojis in a spreadsheet. Well done, Chill. That is excellent. However, I just wanted to recap something here. A lot of people were very quick to just say, oh, I found a solution. You put them in the reverse order. And then they stopped. I'm like, well, come on. First of all, once you found that, well done. I'm in no way saying that you shouldn't be amazed when you found that solution. It took me a little while to work it out, if I'm prepared to admit that. But on top of that, there's always more. So the next question is, well, hang on. If this is one solution, how many solutions are there? Turns out there's quite a few. There's roughly 133 possible solutions that you could have sent in. Well, I say 133, so this is the actual table that Zoe put together when we were planning the puzzle, and it's the number of arrangements in each of these levels of how bad it is. Right? So there's 19 ways in Zoe's table where you have a maximum of 1 correct at any point. There's 315 different ways where at some point you have a maximum of 2, but nothing better than that. 294 and and so on. And other people worked out very similar tables, often using code. So Paddy here sent me in a bunch of Python code for generating all 133 solutions, as did Aravind. So an Aravind, I think I've actually got this as a screen capture. So there's scrolling through their list of all 133 solutions. When you get down the bottom there's the actual code. This is all on GitHub. So actually, I'll check. If I've got a link to this GitHub, I'll put it in the description below. At a minimum, I will paste in all 133 possible solutions. And the reason I'm flipping between 133 and 19 is if we go back to the beginning of Aravind's list, you can see the ones which start with a 1, they count down until there's 19 of them, and the number 20 starts with a 2. So actually 133, that's just the raw number of arrangements. However, given they're in a circle, it's a cycle, when we were working it out, we're like, let's just start all the lists at 1, so that way we're avoiding duplicates. So I was calling them duplicates. Technically they're different because it depends where you put them, but I was excluding these duplicates because it's a cycle. So why have an arbitrary starting and stopping point? Why not always start your list when you're writing out the cycle at person 1? If you do that, you only get 19. If you multiply 19 by the 7 possible places where you could choose to start writing down the cycle, then you get all 133 possible solutions. So technically they are all solutions, but you just get each one 7 times because it depends where you start writing down the cycle. And so that's why in Zoe's list we had 19 as the number of ways where you only get one person max matching at a time. Okay, onto some other fun bits of maths people sent in. So Aravind, the benefit to having all 133 instead of just the 19 is they went through and found ones which were interesting. So they found the solution which is the closest to pi. That's very cool. The solution which is closest to E, very nice. And the solution which is closest to tau. I don't know, I mean, that feels like at this point it feels a bit like a waste of time. But well done. I did not see that coming. If anyone can ever send me, if there's multiple solutions, the one closest to pi, that's amazing. You don't get extra points, but you get extra respect. Now, James here went above and beyond the Call of Duty when explaining how they worked it out, because they made a YouTube video, which I have put in the presentation here. Now, a couple things I want to point out about James's YouTube video. First of all, it's got better animations than me. Stop showing off, James. There's no need to make a whole separate video with better animations than mine. I did it with cards. People can play with things. Animations. What is it? What is this? 3 blue, 1 brown? No. Stand-up maths. Okay, so for the start of James's video, they recap the puzzle. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to skip through a bunch of that and get to how they worked it out. So they did a cool thing. Where's the start? Here we go. So they were looking at a system where you rotate the table and then you, a recommended video. You rotate the table and then you mark the next one that's going to count as a match. And then you rotate the table, the next one that's a match, and you carry on all the way around. And they wanted to show that that always works for even numbers of people, but doesn't work, this system specifically, when you've got an odd number of people. And so what they did was imagine looking at, here it is. This is, 1 star is like the person who you're assigning the next match to, and the other star is just the lead envelope that's already been assigned. And so you can kind of think of, I know each time we're turning the table 2 places around to get, oh no, we're not. We're turning it 1 and then we're moving around the person. So you can think of it as 2 circles. One of them's going clockwise, one of them's going counterclockwise, as nicely illustrated here. And then James was thinking about what happens when the lead assigned envelope has to pass the next person who has to get assigned. And so he zoomed in on a massive, there we go, massive version in the case where it's odd. And because it's odd, there's no person sat directly opposite the kind of top 12 o'clock position. So if you think of this as the 6 o'clock, there's no one there, which means the lead assigned envelope and the next person to be assigned can pass each other without colliding. Whereas the case of even, where's even? Here we go. They're going to collide, which basically means when you get there, you go to assign that one, but you can't assign anything to them because they line up with an envelope that's already been assigned this method doesn't work. So I'll link to James's video below. You can go and check it out. It's very nice. Other people had similar variations on that theme, where you look at how you kind of bounce around a shape with an odd number of corners, which I thought was very cool. And this is kind of the visual demonstration by Ben Hayden here for how you can think about a way to prove it definitely works for any odd number of people, because this pattern will always work. The fact that you're moving the inside one, the outside one the other way, means you're always skipping 2. And if you skip 2, so if you skip a vertex and go to the next one, it's possible to bounce all the way around without hitting yourself until you get back to where you started. And so that's a nice geometric way to show why it always works for an odd number of people. I accept this definitely, James's video and other stuff that people sent me definitely proves that technique doesn't work for an odd number, because you don't get this cycle. It slams back into itself halfway around. I've not convinced myself that proves it's definitely not possible for an even number, because there could be another way of assigning the matches as you go. And so this is the system where you just do the next one in order. I'm not convinced it doesn't rule out other ways of doing it. It might, and I've just not thought about it enough, but I'm not convinced this is a catch-all for for even. You need something a bit more comprehensive to rule out all evens. For example, what Felix sent in. This is a full-on proof, and Felix wasn't the only person who sent in this logic. I just very much liked the way Felix laid it out, and my goodness, they've done it all up in LaTeX and said it nicely, and this is a proof. So using modular arithmetic, they show that if you sum together the numbers you assign for the starting places, the number positions, separately the number of positions that you assign for where the places are, and you then sum all the offsets between each person and where their correct place is, you can then get a relationship between those, and you can prove that relationship cannot hold if you include the assumption that you only ever have one match at a time, which is another way of saying all the offsets are different. Very clever proof. Lovely. So I will link to that below if you want to have a look at it. And that, for me, comprehensively proves it never works in the even case. And because we've got that geometric argument in the one where you move around the table, that definitely proves it can be done for odd between the two. That, for me, is a puzzle absolutely solved. So well done. Just other miscellaneous bits and pieces that people sent in. All these people and more. This is a strict subset of the number of people who pointed this out. They said it's very similar to the non-attacking queens problem. And I hadn't realized that. So I will link to a video that James Grime did on Numberphile about the 8 queens problem, he calls it. This is where you've got to arrange queen chess pieces on a chessboard such that none of them can attack any other queen. And I believe the case where you're playing that on, I think, a Taurus is mathematically equivalent to this puzzle. That's incredible. So if you want to look into that, please do. If you want to chat about that in the comments below this video, go wild. At this point, you can, all the spoilers you want, doesn't matter. Just put them below. So all these people put that, I'll link to James's video. If you want to look up other things that are equivalent, a handy place is the online Encyclopedia of Integer Sequences. If you work out the number of ways you can arrange it such that it doesn't work for different size tables, and then you put that into the online encyclopedia, you can start to get some interesting patterns. And so this is the arrangement for if you do count duplicates, and so it only works for odds, and so you put them in, and this is 2n plus 1, and it tells you non-attacking semi-queens. Oh, there you are. And then this is the list where you remove the duplicates. So you can see it's got 19 for the position where 2n plus 1 is 7, and then you can look down and see what else that's equivalent to. It's a complete mapping of a cyclic group. There you go. We take that as obvious. And so I'll link to both these below, and looking something up on the OEIS is a nice way to then find other equivalent situations, because you can look down for how else that equivalent list can be defined, as well as the number of complete mappings of the cyclic group Z on 2n plus 1. And final honorable mention, Bernhard sent in that this reminded him of a juggling pattern. and I'm a big fan of juggling patterns. Actually, this reminds me, I filmed a video, oh goodness, a while ago, with Henry Segerman about juggling patterns and how cool they are, and I've never edited that. I will edit that now. I've got a lot of time to finish YouTube videos and put that on my main channel at some point. So yeah, so apparently there's a link to juggling patterns. Bernard, if you're watching this, explain it in the comments below. We'll start a discussion. And Aric, I'm going to end on this, had a follow-on puzzle. So this is about if you got blank dice, never say die, and you put numbers on them, and two people do that, is it possible to have a different dice? And is it such a way that no matter how you orientate the dice, only one side at a time is able to match? So I will put the full text that Aric sent me in the description below. You can check that out. Also reminds me, okay, that can go now. Also reminds me, I have a video I started ages ago about ways to arrange numbers on dice. I should finish that. I've still got to finish the maths. I worked out arrangements for all the platonic solid dice that you'd use in gaming, apart from the D20, because I didn't finish writing code that was good enough to do that in a timely fashion. So anyway, those are all the solutions I wanted to talk through. Thank you so much, everyone who sent things in. I'm sorry I can't include everyone in this solution video, but I'll try to get a nice sample of interesting bits of math that were sent in. If I didn't include what you sent in, that's nothing personal. Doesn't mean it wasn't good. Just there's an element of randomness about which ones I end up picking to put in the final presentation. Lastly, let's talk leaderboard. So Zoe has set up a fantastic leaderboard, and this is our current plan. We're going to change it as it goes, we think, just because we want to tweak it to make it the most fun and the most fair simultaneously. So at the moment, if you put in a correct solution at any point during the week, you get 1,000 points for that correct solution. We are also going to give you points for speed. So the very first solution we get gets an extra 1,000 points for being first. The second one we get will get 999 points for being second. The third one we get gets 998, right? So every position gets 1,001, subtract that position points as a bonus, all the way down to the 1,000th valid correct solution we gets 1 extra point. All solutions after that just get the default 1,000. So if you're first in, 2,000 points. That's the max you can possibly get. We're also going to give participation points. If you give us a solution which is not correct, and we're going to have different criteria depending on the puzzle, and we'll work this out behind the scenes. We're not going to say what our criteria ever is, but there'll be one or more criterion, one criterion or more, that's how it works, if we think you gave it a go. Because I'm all about giving it a go. So if we think you gave it a go, you didn't get the correct answer, but you still submitted a solution, and we think that deserves reward, you get half points. So giving it a go will get you 500 points. So 1,000 for correct answer, 500 points for giving it a go, and then scaling somewhere between 1,001 points if you're in the first 1,000 entries. We're also going to have a way where we weight points. So the more recent you got the points, the more they count towards your leaderboard position, because otherwise new people, if they join in, can never catch up. So we want to have a way where your past performances are gradually worth less and less and less and less. And we're still tweaking that exactly. I will do a video explanation at some point on how we're doing that, because it's very interesting maths. A friend of mine, Rob Easterway, works on sports ranking systems, and I'm using a technique that Rob came up with, but I will explain more on that later. So anyway, that's it. That is the first episode of Matt Parker's Maths Solutions. Thank you so much for watching all of this video, and for the few of you, the hardcore people who watched to the very end of long rambling videos on my second channel, a little treat. You may be wondering, the top I was wearing this before, and I thought I normally wouldn't wear this in a main video because it's going to cause a lot of questions, but I figured, for you fine people, I'll wear it for the solution video. This was the spacecraft that my wife was involved with. So Lucy and her team at UCL were part of the people who put the hardware together for Solar Orbiter that was launched by NASA. And thankfully, before lockdown, we were able to go and watch this. It was launched very early February 2020. So we went and saw this get launched over at the Kennedy Space Center. in Florida, which was fantastic. And so we may have made these ourselves. So I made myself a launch jacket, and I thought I'll wear it for this video. There you are. Unrelated, but I thought I'd answer that question. So anyway, if anyone in the comments is like, what's up with the jacket, you can just be like, nah, didn't pay attention to the whole video, did you? So anyway, thank you so much. The new puzzle is out, the Steam Train one. So this is happening as we speak. So if you've missed this video, it's also on this channel. Go and check it out. And you've got until Tuesday to get your answers in for this video before I then do the solution video to that. Thanks for taking part.